Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's special session on storytelling for startups. It's hosted by RISE Jhansi Incubation Center, and it is our pleasure to have all join us, and we embark on a journey to explore the art of storytelling and its profound impact on startup success. So we are particularly honored to welcome our distinguished mentor for the day, Mr. Jay Mistry. Mr. Mistry is a renowned expert in storytelling with a rich background in guiding startups to craft compelling narratives that resonate with the audience, so investors and customers alike. So his insights have empowered uh, countless entrepreneurs to transform their ideas into the captivating stories that not only convey their vision but also inspire action and engagement. So we are excited to learn from his experience and wisdom and look forward to an engaging and enlightening session with them. So I request to Mr. Mistry, and this is their second session, I hope. So it's a very demanding session from the startup side. So I would like to welcome you and over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Anilji. It's a pleasure coming on this amazing platform once again, and I look forward to interacting with multiple startups, founders, marketers, and hustlers. Entrepreneurship is hustling every single day, so I would use that word. uh, Amazing. So today's topic is storytelling for brand marketing. Now, storytelling is not a new subject, right? I mean, from ancient time, people have been, telling stories, right? मेरी नानी मुझे stories बताती थी, and hopefully I'll share those stories to few more people in future. Uh, but yeah, I mean, everything is story around us. There is a new story around us every day. But then, when we see those storytelling art in the startup world, it's altogether a different ball game because those storytelling directly or indirectly sometimes, but I would say directly, reaching to hearts and build an emotional connection with your consumer. So yeah, here we are talking more about storytelling for brand marketing. Before we jump in there, let me give you a brief introduction about me. My name is Jay Mistry. I'm currently founder and CEO of Zazzy. We are right now building Zazzy and Get Vidya. It's an education product. Previously, I have been working with small and big brands and organizations. Some of notable names are Niti Aayog, Geo Imbibe, and some Y Combinator companies. So that's pretty much about me. In my last 13 years of experience, what I have learned is storytelling is an art. The art which you can pick up, with the art which you can learn. And here we are talking about those part. I will start with a very famous quote from one of a mentor of mine, whom I admire a lot, which is Seth Godin. He's a renowned author, entrepreneur, and a public speaker. And he says marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. And I completely correlate with him. I 100% agree with him, that nowadays, if you see, I mean, how many times you open your Instagram, you see you see different advertisement, and how many times do you click on those? You will not, unless and until there is a story going on. You know the brand, or maybe something really interesting. So, and that's the challenge. In 10 to 12 seconds, you're technically telling a story and creating a hook so that audience will either correlate with you or click on that advertisement and want to know more about you, right? And then eventually making purchase and all sort of things. So in today's world, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but it's more about the story you tell. So that comes with the burning question, and the question is why storytelling is important. you know why all of a sudden everyone is talking about storytelling. And as I said, it's not all of a sudden. Our brain has been wired to get to know more about stories. We want to know more stories. Okay, that's how our brain functions. So when you tell stories as a brand, as an entrepreneur, in your personal branding, that directly builds emotional connection with your audience, with your target group. The lower the gap between their understanding and the lower the emotional gap between understanding and the brand, the more successful that brand becomes, right? We have a numerous example of brand telling stories, and those brands are successful. We will go some of them over this later on this presentation. The
Yes.
second point is differentiation from competitions or competitors. We have, I mean, nowadays every startup has their competition, right? What defines that startup? How do they differentiate from other competitions? That is storytelling. Okay, how do they tell the story to the world, and the world buy that story because they correlate themselves with that story. You know, so there is a one aspect where you put yourself in the shoes of a customer, but the other aspect is when customer put themselves in your shoe through the storytelling. The third point is because you have built an emotional connection, and because you have differentiated yourself in a target group, you technically build loyalty and community. I mean, the famous example is that Android versus iOS, right? It has the Cold War has been going on from ages now, right? Some people like Android, some people like iOS, but at the end of the day, the brand has told very compelling story that has built a loyalty group, a community or a cult, we can say, right? And above everything, stories are timeless. As I told you, I started with the presentation which says we have been hearing stories from ages. That means stories will give you and your brand a power to become timeless. The good stories are timeless. Uh, I mean, I'll confess, I still sometimes watch, uh, Chacha Chaudhary I mean, many novels, right? I mean, Iron Man and all sort of old novels because stories are timeless. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Tom and Jerry. These are all like a wonderful stories, right? Charlie Chaplin. So stories are timeless. Now imagine you put those sort of power into your brand building, and the brand becomes unstoppable. And that's the power of storytelling. And that is why storytelling is extremely important. So, what are the different types of storytelling? You know, what are the different way to tell stories? It's an amazing question, right? In fact, there are multiple ways. Okay, there are more than 10 ways, but let's cover top six type of storytelling. And I have covered those six type of storytelling with respect to the current trends. First is a oral storytelling. What I'm doing right now on behalf of my brand is a storytelling. What other, when you are going to a conferences or public speaking, the speaker is telling a story, right? So that's a oral storytelling. Then it's a written storytelling. Like how do you write a blog? How do you write a guest post? How do you write your LinkedIn post? So those are all written storytelling. Then it comes a visual storytelling. Your brand messaging, your illustrations, your website banner, these are all visual storytelling. Then digital storytelling. Digital storytelling is like what sort of a content you are writing on your website, what sort of a content you're writing on your presentation, what sort of method you are using to tell compelling story on your different area of digital aspect. you know so that's a digital storytelling. Now the most trending one right now is UGC. user generated content, right? Imagine, imagine I have a XYZ brand, or maybe let's say, take a real example. We run Zazzy and we help brands, telling stories effectively. And imagine a client is talking about us on their social channel that we have been working with Zazzy, and they helped us with XYZ, and and that becomes a user generated content because your user is generating those content on behalf of your brand, advocating your brand, you know and putting words forward. So that's the utmost form of marketing. That's the best organic marketing your brand can have, and that's trending right now. It's hard to generate those sort of loyalty, but it is possible, and that is called user generated content. And the sixth one is a seasonal storytelling. Imagine uh, 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 festive seasons are around the corner, and imagine on Diwali आप एक एडवर्टाइजमेंट देखेंगे कि इस दिवाली डू दिस और इस रक्षाबंधन आपकी बहन को ये दीजिए, XYZ, right? So these are the seasonal storytelling that boost the brand and putting that emotional connect, or joining the joining the people's happiness, and people start people will instantly correlate that brand with those emotional moments, right? And that is a seasonal storytelling. So these are the six more relevant different type of storytelling from the brand building perspective. So all the big brands are telling pretty compelling stories, and we have been hearing that, right? And as I said, I'm going to go over the three brands, who are telling beautiful stories on different areas. Okay. The first brand is Patagonia. I'm sure you must have heard about it. If not, they are the beautiful and amazing brand for the sportswear, majorly operated in US and UK, but yeah, worldwide. Now, their storytelling theme or their core value is all about sustainability and environmental activism. Okay, and they're pretty much pretty bold and vocal towards sustainability. So Patagonia has built its brand around a powerful story of sustainability and environmental activism. Whatever the messaging you see, whatever the brand messaging, brand creatives, illustrations, photography you see is all forming towards sustainability and environment. Okay, and that's an effective way of storytelling, because imagine if you care about your earth, if you care about planet, if you care about sustainability, you would want to connect with this brand, right? So this is what they are doing. Their brand story is all about commitment to using eco-friendly materials, reducing waste, and supporting grassroots environmental organizations. Some of the things that they have produced is, let's say, for example, this, stay environmental, stay warm, stay in Patagonia. Beautiful. It right away says, and they're not talking about what they are selling. They're not talking about what they do. They just want to correlate themselves with the people who are passionate about environment. And that's an effective way of storytelling. This is another one, where, so this is from the 2011 or 2014, if I'm not wrong, on a Black Friday. They came up with the uh, uh, ad campaign which says that don't buy this jacket. Okay. Now, the idea was that they wanted to reduce the carbon footprint, you know. So what they say, we make useful gear that lasts a long time. You don't buy what you don't need, you know. What they said: reduce, repair, reuse, and recycle. Now, what has happened that people started purchasing more, actually, because they correlate with this brand. And apart from this, as a recycle movement, they used to take old gears or old jackets or old clothes, and they used to recycle that and give them a new. That increase their sales, that increase their brand building, brand loyalty, and people became more loyal towards this brand, and that became cult. So this is the one of the most successful ad campaign of Patagonia history, you know, or I would say sportswear history. Of course, there are amazing people like Nike who sell story of athletes. Okay, but that's not what we're going to talk about. The next brand is our favorite, Airbnb. You know, their their storytelling pattern is belonging anywhere. You know, we all like our home. We all like that cozy place where we just want to relax. We want to sit. We want to spend time with family. Now, Airbnb created an amazing campaign which says never a stranger. Okay, anywhere you go, anywhere in the world, you are never a stranger. Why? Because you have Airbnb. Now, that point, all the people started correlating themselves with Airbnb because, I mean, let's admit, every time, at least there is a moment where in a life when you feel a stranger somewhere, right? So it directly touched their emotional connection, reduced that emotional gap, and people started correlating with this. So Airbnb's new stranger ad campaign features real stories of host and guest forming a meaningful bonds, focusing on the emotional aspect of travel and human connections. Their brand story taps into a universal desire to feel accepted and at home, no matter where one travels. And interestingly, if you see, Airbnb has a well-rounded uh, framework, you know. So Airbnb's storytelling has all the elements of compelling narratives. They have wonderful hosts, they have guests who are beneficiaries, then advisory who are like hotel industry, then hero of this entire storytelling movement is the community of travelers, community of family who wants to spend time on a weekend or maybe over a yearly summer vacation, in some other place. Then with the one goal which says belonging anywhere, which creates diversity, you know. And now on top of everything, they're also supporting the marketplace. And at the same time, and who's gonna get benefited out of it, which is Airbnb, right? So they had a really solid formula framework, uniquely positioned as an empathetic protagonist, passionately about diversity for everyone around the world, and that has worked wonder for them. So that's about the second brand. And the third brand is our favorite, which is Spotify. They are celebrating music lovers. Okay. And there is no better form of telling stories than music. I myself read book while listening to those, book, audiobooks, right? Because it is proven scientifically that music or any sort of sound that you listen is more effective than just reading. In fact, psychologists train people. So interesting fact. If someone wants to change certain habits or someone wants to put something in their muscle memory, okay, listen to those things while sleeping because there is a small amount of period which is while you're sleeping and before you are fully asleep, right? That directly touch with your cerebra, and it makes you remember more, and it directly fits into your muscle memory, so that becomes the instinct for next time. So Spotify has crafted a brand story that celebrates music lover and their unique tastes, and that's what become the community. All the music lovers are on Spotify, because Spotify is OG of that entire music revolution, right? And they have come up with a interesting they came up with a really interesting ad campaign which says wrapped. You know, every year you get Spotify wrapped, which is what was your journey of this year on Spotify, right? And that has become like a viral. The wrapped campaign taps into the emotional connection people have with music, with music, creating a sense of community among Spotify users. And people have started sharing that over a social media that my this year Spotify rap says this. I have listened this artist more. This was my top playing songs. So that has created phenomenal for them. And now, apart from raps, if you see some of the advertisement campaigns, they are so much relatable. Like for example, me, I want to be more I want to be more of a morning person, you know, and also me, all night dance party, music for every mood, you know. If you see, sorry, if you see another one which says, "Dear person who played sorry 42 times on Valentine's Day, what did you do?" So, yeah, I mean, storytelling is extremely effective when you touch and when you build connection emotionally with your audience. So how to build your brand story, now, because these brands are doing wonderfully well, how can you do that? How can you do and build a brand that is tell story that people want to listen? It's simple, but it's hard. The simple thing is this six formula. Step one: define your brand's purpose and value. Does your brand connect more with sustainability? Does your brand connect more with creativity? You know, does your brand connect more with privacy, like Apple? Define the brand's purpose and value. Second, understand your target audience. Now, do your target audience align with those brand purpose and value? If they do, then create a compelling narrative arc, you know, that has to be a compelling story around that. And incorporate those storytelling elements across all platforms. Everything you do, be it the LinkedIn message, be it your website copy, be it your illustration, or be it your logo for that matter, it should tell the compelling brand story. Ensure authenticity and consistency across all channels. When you do that, and when you integrate storytelling throughout all the platforms on each touch points where there is a customer touching with your brand, and that's where you effectively create story. Repeat that again and again and again, and that's where you become a master storyteller, and the customer or consumer become loyal to your brand. That's when you tap into a true community aspect. So, and of course, I mean, all the brands are trying for that. So that is the way to create story, telling stories, you know, pushing brand forward, pushing your personal brand forward, and becoming a leader in your segment, and stand out from the competitions. So there are only two type of brand, that leaves us at the few of the last segment, which is there are only two types of brand. One who can tell stories, one who don't want to. Because I don't believe in any brand who cannot tell stories. Everyone can tell stories. It's just that do you want to or you don't want to. So which one would you be? A brand who want to tell stories or the brand who don't want to tell stories? If you need more help, more assistance, book a free session, 30 minutes with me. I'm happy to guide you, help you wherever you can. This is the link. And amazing. I look forward to hearing from you, some exciting stories from you. And that's all from my end. I hope you enjoyed this session. And I hope I have tried, I hope I have helped you in even a 0.1%, and I would be super helpful, and I would be super happy. In fact, I would be super happy uh, to make those contribution in your life, in your brand. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shamsiri. So, I just want to ask one thing because
Mhm.
it's a very good concept to just build your brand, right? And this is very important to the startups also. So I just want to ask the one question that any sequence of storytelling that startups should follow from the starting. Like suppose I'm a startup and I'm starting my brand. So what sequence I need to follow for the branding?
I'll talk in Hindi because someone has commented that please
Yeah.
also talk in
Okay.
Hindi. Okay. Uh,
Hmm.
सर ऐसा कोई सीक्वेंस होता नहीं है,
Okay.
बट एट द सेम टाइम देर आर सम प्री रिक्विजिट. कुछ चीजें ऐसी होती है जो आपको करनी ही पड़ेगी स्टोरी टेलिंग से पहले, विच इज अंडरस्टैंडिंग योर ऑडियंस. ओके. अगर आप आपकी ऑडियंस को, आपके टारगेट मार्केट को नहीं जानते हो, आप कभी भी स्टोरी टेलिंग सही से नहीं कर पाओगे. यू विल नेवर बी एबल टू टेल इफेक्टिव स्टोरीज इफ यू डू नॉट नो योर टारगेट मार्केट. ओके. So the first step, I recommend everyone talk to your customer. You know, just talk to your customer, understand their pain point. The way I start those sort of conversation is that मुझे बस अपने दिन के बारे में बताइए बस. That's it. Just tell me about yourself. Tell me how you start your day and your day. What do you do in the day? Because वो हमें इतनी इंसाइट्स देता है जितनी और कोई नहीं दे सकता. और वहीं से आपको पता चलेगा कि आपको नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कौन सा पूछना है जो आपकी ब्रांड के लिए सही हो. व्हेन यू डू दिस, व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड योर टारगेट मार्केट, मेक श्योर दैट आप अपनी ब्रांड को किस फॉर्म में कनेक्ट करना चाहते हो, और अदर वे, लेट्स से रिवर्स वे, आप कैसे अपने ऑडियंस को अपनी ब्रांड के साथ कनेक्ट करना चाहते हो. यू नो व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस बीट, देन यू नो नाउ दैट माय टारगेट ऑडियंस इज लाइक दिस, एंड यू नो कि आपको कैसे अपनी ब्रांड से कनेक्ट करना है. You create a compelling story. Make sure that that compelling story is everywhere, in all form of uh, communication. And once you do that, you know just do it again and again. Refine that, and that's when you can do this. So these are the steps. So there is no rocket science. I mean, there is no blueprint कि आप इसी वे में जा सकते हो. बट वन थिंग इज फॉर श्योर दैट आपको आपके ऑडियंस को समझना पड़ेगा.
Okay. So I think it's very easy to form this type of marketing with the help of storytelling. So is there any challenges you face during this type of marketing from in your incorporating storytelling process?
It's a wonderful question, actually. There are very small mistakes that we entrepreneurs make. We entrepreneurs feel that uh, what we are selling is by default everyone needs it. Okay, or other way, what story that we are telling, we assume that people are correlating with this because वो हमारे साथ हो रहा है तो सबके साथ हो रहा है. जरूरी नहीं है.
Exactly.
आई एम श्योर देर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल उनके साथ हो रहा होगा, बट क्या वो मार्केट बहुत बड़ा है कि आपकी ब्रांड 1,000 करोड़ 500 करोड़ बन जाए? यू नो सो the number one mistake I would say brands and people are making is not refining their stories again and again, not refining that the vision should be same, the pointer should be same. Because जैसे हमने देखा है, right, Spotify only cater to music lovers, you know Patagonia only caters and talk about sustainability, and they will always be talking about sustainability. जरूरी नहीं कि डे वन से लोगों ने उस स्टोरी को इफेक्टिवली बाय किया. दे हैड टू रिफाइन देयर स्टोरी टेलिंग मेथड्स अगेन एंड अगेन. हो सकता है लोगों को वो स्टोरी टेलिंग ना समझ में आए, हो सकता है लोगों के लिए वीडियोस वर्क ना करे, हो सकता है लोगों के लिए इलस्ट्रेशंस वर्क करे, हो सकता है लोगों के लिए रेडबुल की तरह एड्रेलिन रश वर्क करे. सो दैट इज द that is the brand evolution, that is the brand journey, or maybe there is a brand steps. And that's why I said, there is no fixed blueprint. आपको हमेशा वो उसको adopt करना पड़ेगा, आपको हमेशा उसको refine करना पड़ेगा. So this is the one low hanging fruit mistake that people make. The second mistake, as a brand, uh, we are not consistent enough every channel. you know हम कभी बोलते हैं सस्टेनेबिलिटी के बारे में, बट हम ही वो प्लास्टिक यूज कर रहे हैं, इन अवर पैकेजिंग. हम कभी बोलते हैं वी लव म्यूजिक, बट let's say 70% of our post is non-musical. 70% of the post is not talking about music at all. Some people says that our brand stands for empathy because we are in a mental health. Just an example. But they don't talk about the customer story, that how mental health has solved certain problems. If you see, every year Apple smartly integrate some sort of a story. जैसे for example, उन्होंने last to last year Apple Ultra Watch release किया था for athletes, right? Now, if you see last year's keynote, they have effectively told how one athlete has achieved X number of things with Ultra Watch, right? इस साल भी अगर आप देखोगे, उन्होंने नए फीचर्स लॉन्च किए हैं, which is continuity, okay, for filmmakers, okay. Now, they told an amazing story, which is just with the iPad and phone, you can now build a beautiful film without spending thousands of dollars, or lakhs of rupees or crores of rupees, in a production houses, right? And people who are creators want to attach with that, and what they talk about is privacy. Everything they do is boiled down to privacy. So you have to be consistent in everywhere, to make sure that people are truly believing in your story. Because मैं अगर कुछ बोलता हूँ, not necessarily people will believe in those, but जब मैं बार बार बोलता हूँ और अगर वो सच है, and it is making a difference in people's life, then it becomes a story that people buy, that push brand forward. So yeah, these are the two mistakes I can think of right now.
Yeah, that's great. I think ये जो mistakes आपने करे, I think बहुत कुछ आपने improve भी किया होगा उसके बाद.
बहुत
कि every startup should do
बहुत
that.
मिस्टेक्स किया, आई वुड से. इम्प्रूव तो पता नहीं, मतलब टाइम बताएगा, बट हाँ, मिस्टेक्स बहुत की है, बहुत उस मिस्टेक से सीखा है. एंड आई फील दिस न्यू इंडिया इज ऑल अबाउट, ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, अपने पैरों पे खड़ा होने वाला, वो इंडिया है. So
Exactly.
I see amazing startups coming out of remotest place in India, and they all are talking about their stories in more effective way. People are loving those stories, and yeah, I'm excited about what's coming next in India.
Okay. So that's great. And one more thing I just want to know that like जो previous जैसे हमने कोई marketing में advertisement किया with the storytelling. So next जो हम करने वाले हैं, क्या उनका sequence बहुत ज़्यादा important है startups के लिए, या that
I
can
don't
be
think so. My
relate to
question,
each other?
Samja. Can you repeat the question? I could not understand the question actually.
Okay, the question is कि जैसे last किसी ने startup ने कोई advertise किया with the storytelling. So next जो वो करने वाले, so it should be correlate or relate each other, or something they can just is a new one.
See, you can always talk about different thing as long as आपकी core value same हो. जैसे I myself is so much into sustainability at a level जहाँ पे lot of the time we do not use certain things because those brands are not sustainable for the environment, right?
Yes.
So let's say I'm a sustainable brand. One time I talk about hiking, second time hiking, or let's say one time I talk about walking over, let's say cab, or walking over, let's say something else, maybe cycling over something else, because we want to make sure that our carbon footprint is lower. Sometimes you're talking about, let's say, for long route, please don't take personal cab, do carpooling. Just an example, okay? Or one way I'm talking about ocean waste, okay? So now, if you see, my way of telling is different everywhere, but my core fundamental is same, which is sustainability. If we talk
Yeah.
about in music, if we talk about in the case of Amazon, now Amazon's core principle is customer is king. I mean, they don't say that, they care about customers, I mean, like anything.
Yeah.
अगर आपका कोई एक्सपीरियंस खराब रहा है Amazon से, I'm not associated with Amazon, but just saying, they feel like customer is king, right? They want to make
Yeah.
customer at a forefront, right? So everything you do, even the logo said A to Z, you will get A to Z everything. Their their customer support will help you in a left, right, and center, right? So I mean, you can talk about n number of things as long as आपका कोर जो ब्रांड वैल्यू है वो सेम है, वो चेंज नहीं होना चाहिए.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I just want to one more thing that is there any example of successful marketing campaign that you use in storytelling
A lot,
or
in
something?
fact.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
Sorry.
can take one or two examples so that startup can easily understand.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple ways. I mean, if we say in a professional storytelling way, I would again go back to Apple. The
Yeah.
Think Different campaign. The OG, when Apple was almost dying, and and they had to revive, and that they told the world that we think differently. And then tell me one thing: how many people feel that कि मैं अलग नहीं सोचता? Everyone says, I mean, मैं अलग सोचता हूँ. I think
Yeah.
differently. You think differently, and people directly correlated with that. We all think differently, and then Apple think differently, so I want to correlate with that, right? Second is the Airbnb, belong anywhere, right? That's a beautiful campaign. I mean, people started doing that instantly. If I talk about more recent time, और अगर मैं इंडिया की बात करूं, ये तो चलो खैर बाहर की ब्रांड्स है. अगर मैं इंडिया की बात करूं, you remember, I think 1 or 2 years back, there were few memes came out, like ब्लिंकिट के बाजू में जोमेटो ने अपना वो लगा दिया बिलबोर्ड. ब्लिंकिट सेज दैट कि यहाँ मिलेगा. जोमेटो बोल रहा है क्यों लेना है, यहाँ से ऑर्डर कर लो. यू नो और मे बी बर्गर किंग एंड मैकडोनल्ड्स, कि हमारे बर्गर्स अच्छे. आई मीन, जस्ट एग्जांपल, क्योंकि मुझे याद नहीं है कि एग्जैक्टली वहां पे क्या लिखा था, बट द कॉन्टेक्स्ट इज कि लेट्स से बर्गर किंग का स्टोर है, यहाँ ऊपर लिखा है कि वी आर अबव बर्गर किंग, क्योंकि मैकडोनल्ड उसके ऊपर था, राइट? और बर्गर किंग ने उसके ऊपर लिख दिया, but still we will be the king, right? So these are some of the effective way of storytelling, some of the timeless copywriting, some of the timeless storytelling, where people only correlate with 2 3 things. One is humor, second pain, and third any sort of emotional bonding.
Yeah.
So
That is the
if
most
you can
important,
either
I think.
make करेक्ट, राइट? सो इफ यू कैन मेक पीपल एदर लाफ, या तो आप उसको हंसा सकते हो, या आप उनको अगर इमोशनली कनेक्ट करा सकते हो अपनी ब्रांड के साथ और उनकी लाइफ के साथ, देन दैट बिकम्स अ सक्सेसफुल एड कैंपेन. और सब वही ट्राई कर रहे हैं. सो या, बिकॉज फंडामेंटली बस वही है, ये 2 3 चीजें ही है जो ह्यूमन के लिए वर्क करती है, राइट? एंड इट्स फैक्ट, इट्स बीन फ्रॉम ईयर्स एंड ईयर्स एंड सेंचुरीज, राइट? हम महाभारत आज भी क्यों देखते हैं? हम महाभारत आज देखते हैं बिकॉज वी वॉन्ट टू सी अवर हिस्ट्री, वी वॉन्ट टू कनेक्ट अवर सेल्फ, कि हम यहाँ पे रहते हैं, उस देश में रहते हैं जहाँ पे अभी भी महाभारत जैसी स्टोरीज और what we say, the folklores is been happening, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean वही है. we are the country of stories, right?
Yeah, right. And for closing this session, I just want to ask a very simple thing. Then, what advice you will give the startups that those who are not using this storytelling in their marketing? So, uh, any
Talk to
any
your customer.
suggestion from your side?
Talk to your
Okay.
customer. Trust me. If you talk to your customer, that is going to solve your 40% of the problem. Just talk to your customer, tell effective story, stick to your story, and make sure that आप जो स्टोरी बोल रहे हो उसमें आप बिलीव करते हो. If you do not believe in those story which you are telling, uh, people today's people are smart. They understand कि अब ये बोलता कुछ और है, करता कुछ और है. So people are very smart about it. you know so it's not easy to get away from such situations, especially in a very connected world through social media and all, right? So whatever the story that you're selling, make sure that you believe in the story, or don't sell. Find another story which you believe in. So I would say that I mean, building a brand is amazing. Ethically building a brand, telling a true story is the uh, uh, is the right way to grow, I would say.
Yeah. So it's a very, I think, informative session and very energetic from your side. So I really thanks to you, and I hope all the startup wants to say thanks to you again, once again.
Thank you.
So it's a very wonderful session from your side. I really appreciate it. So uh, thank you so much,
Thank you.
and
Thank you so
I
much, Anilji.
really
Thank you so much, Jhansi team, for having me.
yeah. Thank you so much. So I really connect the startups who wants to connect with you personally. So
Mhm.
I really go for that if they want to connect with you. So we can then do that.
Absolutely. I'm available. I'll share this. I'll share my, that session link with Anilji, and he will distribute with the startups, and he will also share that in a comment of the video, so that if anyone wants to, talk to me, feel free. And I'm looking forward to hearing more and more stories, helping you any way I can, and all the best to your startup.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, MSTG.